Welcome back, Shaman King fans, to another episode of What's the Difference? The Shaman King Edition, where I compare a given media's various different adaptations. This time there's actually a good amount of content to cover as I compare the manga to the 2001 anime, which has very little in terms of comparable moments, but there are still comparable moments, and also comparing it to the 2021 anime adaptation, which is almost verbatim to the manga, with various different moments completely cut out in order to save time, or because the moment was just there for comedy and it kind of interrupts the pacing, which can be both good and detrimental to the newer anime because some of the context is left out in certain situations, as well as some of the atmospheric moments. But we'll be jumping into Volume 28, Chapter 243, titled The End of a Dream, as well as Episode 61 of the 2001 anime, The Eternal Farewell, as well as Episode 43 of the 2021 episode, The End of a Dream. Let's jump in. Now, jumping into the newer anime and the manga, we have Marco bringing out his angel as a car in order to get the Iron Maiden Jean to hopefully be revived by Faust as well as Lyser, and he's entrusting Tamao to get them there safely. This is a pretty big moment for Tamao, and it's a shame that Tamao doesn't really get to do too much in terms of it. They also cut out some of Anola and Lasso talking to each other, with Lasso saying that he'd be the one to pursue them if they do try to escape, and he'd pursue them in his own vehicle, Lucifer. But House says that there's no escape ultimately, especially since there was such a big mess because of that laser being fired. They keep saying it was a certain country's laser weapon, but it was more than likely either the US or England, especially because Dingbat, I believe, was from England, and since it was fired upon a Japanese island, the Pentagon, NASA, the National Diet, everyone the world over knows something is up, and they know that this island exists. Their eyes have turned here. People will be investigating to find out what's going on, and eventually we'll find a stadium filled with corpses. They'll just think that something lawless has been going on here, which of course is going to interrupt the Shaman fight. It's also cut out House saying that he would hope that the patch could maybe move everything to a different location, but of course House just gonna salt the earth with their asses. They'll kill them all. Which of course is all stuff that wasn't dealt with in the original anime. They kept things exclusive to the whole Shaman society, but with everything that was going on in the Shaman fight, all the ridiculous stuff that was going on, it actually makes sense that there would be some alert given to the outside world at some point. And so the patch are scrambling to try to fix this. Well, they're going to ask the Great Spirit what to do so that, God is not revealed to the mortal world. Although Necrom and Magna don't really think there's too much of a threat because of their misdeeds. They already know that there's only so many teams even left to proceed forward. So there's already 4 teams pretty much decided. Not to mention the last leg of the tournament is going to happen in a place where nobody can really get to. But the Godiva still wants to ask the Great Spirit for some reason, because it's still their duty. We see Silva, who has obviously been brainwashed to fulfill his duty no matter what, and Hao is threatening Tamao, backing her basically into a corner, but Tamao's still ready to fight, which is a great stand for her. But that's only because she now has backup, and that's the arrival of Anna, which I do love the way she appears in the anime, where it's them arriving from on high, riding on the golem. It's a bit of a cooler entrance than in the manga, where they're just straight up there all of a sudden. Now, this is kind of parallel to the situation in the original anime, where you had June trying to make her way to the Shaman fight, to the Shaman King situation, where Hao's taking over, only to be met by Anna, who is going to help out Yo and the others defeat Hao. So you got the parallel of, Anna coming in to help out Tamao, and in the original series, Anna coming in to help out June. But it's all in an effort to help resurrect or help out Yo to some degree. It's unfortunate though because, in the original anime, June kind of hits a wall. She's not able to go any further and help out. Whereas in the manga and newer series, she does actually manage to continue to help and do a lot of good. Skipping over all of this, all the way up to Yo's soul being plucked out and consumed by Hao, ending that episode. And then we jump over to episode 62 of the original series, titled Die Collision, which has everyone coming together to try to avenge Yo, as well as Anna coming in, looking to get vengeance of her own. And so, in all versions, Anna stands against Hao in an effort to keep him from getting what he wants in the end. Alright, for the manga, we jump into chapter 244, titled Seriously, where the newer anime cuts out the discussion between Pochi and Hao, which ends up devolving into a discussion about their balls, which is very weird. No thank you. Also involves Anna stepping on Pochi's, What was also cut out was Tamao, being greeted by Red Sub and Sarium. And also the decals, the paint job that Anna had given to the golem, basically marking it as her property. That was all cut out. Jumping ahead to Hao kind of confronting Anna, and Anna immediately going in for the attack is a pretty awesome moment. And Anna even goes in with both Shinigami. And Anna versus Hao actually feels a little bit like it could potentially be a bit more even matched. Like, even with the Spirit of Fire going directly after Anna easily manages to block it in the exact same manner Hao does. Like, I love the queen energy emanating off of Anna in that moment. Whereas in the original anime, it doesn't quite go that well. Even when she tries to go in with Zenki and Goki, Hao then just takes back control of them, which is, I feel a little mixed on that, because it's just like, Hao really doesn't even need to do that, because he has so much power, but I guess in the original anime, they wanted Hao to leave nothing to chance, whereas in the manga and newer anime, it's just like, they put Hao and Anna a little bit more on an even keel with each other. Whereas in the original anime, Anna ends up outmatched by Hao in a few situations, only for her to be saved by Calum and Silva. And so, looking to take over the Great Spirit, he just leaves Zenki and Goki to deal with them. It takes Manta being forcibly controlled by Mosuke to be able to just overcome them in a brief moment and kind of rally everybody to fight back, which of course really damages Manta since he's not technically a shaman, but everyone rallies and destroys the Shinigami, which is unfortunate. I liked Anna having Zenki and Goki, but they're still attempting to have Anna seal away Hao's movement so he can't do anything anymore. And meanwhile, Yo has been absorbed within Hao and is dealing with all that. And then in the original anime, you have all of Yo's friends coming together to try their best to defeat Hao however they can. Meanwhile, in the manga and newer anime, you had them training in hell in order to improve enough to be able to defeat Hao and at least gain the 5 Great Spirit. And it's a great ordeal for them to try to overcome, with them kind of being trained on the sly by both Masamune as well as Master Abba. Meanwhile, Lyserg's dealing with his own evil inner demon, which is quite the ordeal, because it's the darkness within Lyserg's heart. Whereas the Lyserg's moment of struggle actually came in episode 58, Flaming Angel. And that's where he really had to grow and evolve. Whereas in the manga and newer anime, he had to overcome the darkness by himself. You also have Yo still grappling in hell with these demons and basically overcoming them at every turn, no matter what kind of dastardly trick they try to pull. We then jump into chapter 245, titled One Person I Can't Lose To, where the demons are trying their damnedest to try to crush Yo however they can, and Yo manages to just overcome it. He's able to see clearly through every situation. The demons have no choice but to surrender, which Yo accepts, of course, because he's a big softie. He wants to visit the boss of hell. Some of the dialogue about how dangerous that is kind of cut out, but it all comes down to Yo saying he's unafraid. It's like, I'm already dead, and he really has nothing to lose. So some of Yo's dialogue is condensed a bit, but it all comes down to the same thing. Yo has a very tough spirit. They cut out the fact that Yo realized that, Yokin's soul couldn't be permanently destroyed. They're in the Great Spirit. Like, how would you permanently destroy a soul? You can't. And that training as hell is something he'd have to do no matter what. It's a good moment. Meanwhile, in every version, the battle against Hao, essentially Hao versus Anna, has its moments here and there. It's a little bit more bombastic in the original anime, as you have more of the team coming in an effort to seal away Hao. And the idea is that she's using a technique that the ancestors used previously. Although in the manga, it was simply just gaining the same strength as those who had beaten Hao previously. Although in the original anime, that is the strength that beat Hao previously. Only for it to be completely futile. Hao breaks free and he manages to overcome it all. And all of the 1080 prove to be completely useless. So in every version you have Anna brought to her knees because of Hao's tremendous strength. Although in the manga and newer anime, he managed to decimate Zenki and Goki with the spirit of fire. He didn't need them or to control them. He was beyond them. But Anna tries to continue to fight back, but it doesn't seem like she might be able to. But Hao has an interest in Anna, which is why he doesn't just kill her. But he questions who Anna really is, and he wonders why he can't read her thoughts. Why she tried so hard to save everyone. What is their plan? Is she just trying to buy time? There's no one left who can resurrect them. He wonders what kind of trap or trouble she has up her sleeve. He wonders what true power Anna might actually have. And as it turns out, Anna might actually have more power than you think. And this is something that wasn't shown in the manga, namely the curse reversal, where Anna managed to turn the tides on Hao. It's just implied later down the line. But then you jump in with Ryu attacking Hao's minions. Ryu is kind of losing it over everything that's happened, only for him to be attacked from behind by Yo, who has been revived by Faust. Jumping into chapter 246, Come Back to Life. And I love this shot. See, we finally kind of made it almost completely to where Hiroyuki's art is almost completely portrayed in the same fashion in the anime as in the manga, which plays out a lot differently in the original anime, as Anna's completely lost hope, but her friends are willing to Yo's friends are willing to still stand and fight. And then we jump over to episode 63, titled A Place Where I Belong, where the fight against Hao is just raging on. And Yo's revival is a little bit more, I guess you could say, triumphant. And you can tell it's gearing up for the final battle there. Whereas in the manga and newer anime, you get to see Eliza's new transformation, and that Sati and the Gandhara have been struck down, and Yo is kind of pissed, even asking the Patch about the fact that he's not interfering. It is obvious that they're all on Hao's side, but that's just simply because a lot of them just believe that Hao is going to be the Shaman King, but Yo thinks it's going to be him, and so he tries to get Ryu to kind of understand why it's important to stay calm. The moment you lose your cool is the moment you've lost. He asks Faust, how many more times can you resurrect people? He says about once, and of course Yo says it should be Sati. So it just goes to show that in both situations of Yo being resurrected, he's as calm as can be. But in the manga and newer anime, they try to attack Yo. It's instantly reflected. You get this really kind of cool sequence that plays off very quickly in the manga as well as the anime. But it looks like the Shaman fight is gonna manage to come back once again. Team Funboryosen is back in service. Interestingly enough, the anime actually shows the moment that Red Sub, Cerium, Tamao, Manta all rendezvous with Yo, which you never see in the manga. So that's the anime adding in something to keep things a little bit more cohesive. Interestingly enough, but you can see a lot of military personnel making their way to the island, with a lot of military personnel looking for some kind of answers as to why a satellite would fire like that. And you can see that Manta's father is also on board, kind of keeping things cohesive with, Manta's here. His father is the owner of a major conglomerate. The satellite was the product of the conglomerate that Manta's father run. It's a really convoluted through line, but it's interesting nonetheless. And so Yo has a plan that he's sharing with Red Sub-Serum and Manta about what they should do. Manta's breathing a little bit easier about the whole situations, but it's obvious that Hao's minions can't recall themselves for a different reason. Something bigger is going on than just them regrouping. But Yo is a little bit more worried about Anna than anything else. And I like that the anime gives this close-up of Yo's worried expression. The manga doesn't do that. I think it's a bit of a sweet addition. The anime actually cuts out a brief moment when you first see Team Hanagumi arrive to take down the bodies of Team the Ren, which is fine. It wasn't that big of a moment, and you get enough of it with everything that comes next, as they've come to dispose of Team the Ren's corpses to keep them from being able to be resurrected, only for them to have already been resurrected, coming in and dealing with Team Hamagumi's spirits fairly easily. But when the question of how they were resurrected actually comes up, it turns out that someone special has been trained in the art by Sati, which I love it because it actually gives a little bit of shine to none other than Tao Jun. I think that's a nice little addition, which at least gives her something to do, and a little bit of payback against Team Hanagumi, and they're told to retreat by blocking as there's another job for them, and mostly because Hao is busy dealing with Anna, they can just leave the rest of them. And while Ren would love nothing better than just to end them now, June knows how hard the girls will fight no matter what, and would rather not see them just throw away their lives so pointlessly. I think it's a nice little moment between June and Ren. And so Team Hanagumi retreat, which is interesting because that's the last big moment for Team Hanagumi basically in this series, whereas in the original anime, it ended up coming down to a fight of Team Hanagumi going after none other than Yo. So they're looking to kind of stop Yo from, stopping Hao. Is interesting because Yo uses the abilities he managed to do to take down the other team on these girls here in the original anime. Even though the manga has stuff happen differently than in the original anime, certain plot elements still happen no matter what. Yo still ends up facing off against 3 of Hao's minions. It's just that he ends up facing off against more of the more noticeable ones, and Yo ends up dealing with them just as easily. But it ends up being a little bit more of a crushing blow to Team Hanagumi. Meanwhile, while Lyserg has already dealt with his own personal demons in the original anime, which I will always feel came a little bit more abruptly in the original anime. He just goes from being so in need of his revenge and then he just kind of turns it around once a lot of the X-Laws end up dying off. In the manga and newer anime, a lot of his demons and hatred end up being something that, it's still there within his heart, but it's something he has to deal with, something he grapples with. Something is because of his own inner kindness that really has just shooken him up. He knows that he's in hell, but he wonders why it's affecting him so. In every situation, he ends up in this bad situation where it looks like he might be about to die, but then he realizes that the demon attacking him is the embodiment of his own hate. So he decides to free himself from his hate and try to embody this lightness within him. Then we switch over to chapter 248, Not an Angel, where you have a lot of Lyserg's musings kind of cut out, where he's like, okay, I have to think, I have wings, I have the power, I can vanquish this demon easily, I can make anything happen in this world. I can be this holy angel, only for him to easily be splattered. And so he starts to lose a little bit of his hope. And I kind of like the way that the anime does it a little bit better, because it's very clear what's happening, that Lyserg has been splattered on the pavement, and if he thinks that he's been defeated, he will just really be wiped out. It's thanks to Master Ava that he's able to kind of regroup himself and come back to life, but he still has to avoid the demon. And so enter Lyserg's training with Master Ava, and they do cut out Ava saying that Lyserg is a quick study, a lot quicker than the other, but Ava makes it known, okay, this demon is you, it is your hatred, and it won't be easy to deal with. But if he does manage to deal with this demon, he'll be stronger than ever, more powerful, more capable. As long as he envisions his win, as long as he thinks of more joy and happiness, his soul will gain great power. And thus he brings out Morphine and the Lyserg's angel, because this will be what's needed in order to, give him the power to fight back. And we briefly cut over that Manga was the one who sent Zuriel to go and help Lyserg, and this is in an effort for Lyserg to create a new oversoul. And then we cut over to Hao's followers viewing the military ships coming in, and Hao's minion's job is to stop them from interfering with the Shaman fight. Even Big Guy Bill isn't too sure about wanting to fight, other humans. But of course, Teen Hanagumi, they're all for fighting humans because humans have treated them poorly because they viewed them as witches. But Peyote has another thought in mind. This is something I kind of realized after watching this episode. Peyote has started to kind of question what Hao is really trying to do. Although they do cut back on the discussion between Turban and Peyote, which is unfortunate because Peyote and Turban have had heart-to-heart before previously after Peyote's defeat at the hands of Chocolat. But it's obvious something is weighing on Peyote's mind, as, the anime really does downplay a lot of the rest of Hao's followers kind of looking at Peyote kind of sideways, which is unfortunate because of what happens next. As Zhangji gets taken down, Turban goes in as well as Big Guy Bill. Big Guy Bill is ended, as Turban is ended with a gunshot, which is a gunshot from Manta's butler, oddly enough, who I thought was Manta's butler, but apparently just a servant of his dad. And then we jump over to volume 29, in chapter 249, the Shaman fight Shakedown, where Peyote is slaughtering everyone, where it seems like Peyote has gone crazy. So Team Hanagumi tries to go in, only to be taken off guard by Manta's butler dude. They do cut out the guy saying that, the technique that Team Hanagumi was going to try on Peyote don't work on a guy who doesn't really believe in soul. So that's why he's working with Peyote, because he actually has an advantage because he's not a shaman, interestingly enough. And despite the fact of him firing a Gatling gun, the only person who's injured is Kana with a couple of gunshots to the leg. He tells them to give up because they don't have power against modern weaponry. And it's made a little bit more clear that this guy would love to experiment on the rest of them to see how they could be turned into weapons for Manta's dad's company. And Hanagumi doesn't want to give up, only for Kana to be stabbed by Peyote. And he lets them know that Hao can read minds, which takes them all off guard. And Peyote is looking to end him and everyone else, all within an instant, all because he didn't tell them of his abilities and his true intentions. Although I think it's a shame that Peyote's giant mariachi explodes into spirit particles, because in the manga it just stops being possessed. It's just a giant mariachi doll. And then the guy Tomorazaki reports to Mr. Omiyata about everything that happened, their biggest obstacle in getting to the island, letting them know that letting them know about Hao's abilities actually led Peyote to suicide and killing everyone. So apparently he had been on the island this entire entire time, which the manga makes clear. It's just like his travels with Manta actually helped clue him in about all of these goings on, and he's gathered enough information to be able to be like, okay, well, we can get the Great Spirit, use it as a weapon. So, which apparently is the plan of Manta's dad, obtain the Great Spirit as a weapon of industry. Ain't that some shit? And then you have the spirits of Teen Hamagumi trying to rush to Hao because they think he could help them. And of course they're scared and worried, but they just want answers from Hao. But once they make their way to Hao, he's injured and needs power. So he wants to use the souls of Teen Hanagumi, only for Anna to kick him right in the balls. So in all versions, Teen Hanagumi ends things in this kind of state of despair, still believing in Hao, but they're kind of shaken by certain events. So again, things are different, but they're still very similar in certain way. You know, Yo being essentially killed but then resurrected, the defeat of Hao's minions all happening around the same time, but you know, in the original anime that happened at the hands of Yo and his friends, which was, I'm pretty sure, what most people expected, not for Hao's followers to self-destruct once they learn that Hao is hiding secrets from them about what he can do. Hao facing off again, but that's the thing. Certain beats were just inevitable to happen. Hanagumi was the most, honestly, prominent of Hao's minions because they were some of the earliest characters we actually saw in the series. The first time Anna met Hao, that was setting up a confrontation for later down the line, although I actually prefer Anna to have stood her ground a little bit more. But that works a little bit better in the manga and newer anime because the comparison of Hao's power and Anna's power was a lot more clear in the manga and newer anime, whereas in the original anime, that's not really put to the forefront of things. Lyserg overcoming his inner demon kind of happens very differently. In the original anime, it was just kind of after seeing the death of the X-Laws and everything that he'd been through with them, he kind of regains his humanity through that, despite various actions kind of making it seem like he had lost it, whereas in the manga and newer anime, he never realized it. You could always tell that Lyserg was still a good guy deep down. But that's the end of all this. Tell me your thoughts in the comments section below. Which version did you prefer the most, especially in pertaining to what action? And if you like this video, feel free to subscribe for more What's the Difference? And I hope I'll see you in the next episode. Until then, bye-bye.